All right, we are now welcomed by my good friend and fellow GVSU alum, joining me and Matt as well with that. He's from PGM. He went to Ferris before I met up with him at Grand Valley. He graduated from there with a professional golf management degree. Since then, he's been a caddy all over the country pretty much, just a golf aficionado, but most notably, he is now a official PGA caddy on the PGA Championship this past weekend at Kiawah Island for his good friend, Tim Pearce. So I guess first off, Trent, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for joining us. And then secondly, can you just maybe start with the whole backstory on how you guys even qualified for the PGA Championship and maybe how you met Tim and sort of how this whole story even began about a month ago?
Yeah, so I met Tim, like you said, when we were up at Ferris State. Tim's a graduate of the program and a PGA member as well. Basically, we met in 2013 up there. He's from Birmingham Seaholm, and we were in the same class. We just kind of kicked it off right away, and he was a guy that I played golf with a lot competitively up there. But he's been moving across the country doing his various internships and stuff for the PGA, and we've been connecting down in Florida the last couple of years in the wintertime. I've gone down there and played with him quite a bit, and pretty much it came up that he qualified through the Michigan PGA section to be a part of the 2021 PGA Professional Championship, which is hosted at Port St. Lucie Golf Club. And he gave me a call. It was one of the best calls I've ever picked up, and he said he needed a guy. He needed a looper, and it meant a lot to me to have him call me. And so we headed down there to the PPC is what the abbreviation is for it. And we just we had a goal to obviously make the top 20, the top 20 players out of 312 at that event qualify for the PGA Championship. And it was a rocky road in the final round. We were 5 under par through 3 rounds. And going into the final round, we had a rough start, tough wind on that day, and we were 6 over through 4, which put us 1 outside the cut line for that top 20. And we just had to rally. We had a little bit of a discussion walking to the 5th tee after the poor start, and he turned it around. And he went 1 under the last 14, played the last 14 under par, and made about a 2-foot putt to go to the PGA Championship. So that's how it kind of all started.
So what was that like when you basically found out, you've been a golf fan your whole life, clearly a big fan of golf still. What was it like when you found out you were going to the PGA Championship? Did you know, like, before the last putt dropped, like, hey, he needs to make this or we're probably not going?
Yeah, we knew exactly where we were. They do a good job there at PGA of putting up the scoreboards and keeping us pretty much updated as we go through the course. I know that guys get asked on tour all the time, are you scoreboard watching, or do you even care about that? Do you want to know where you're at? And we 100% wanted to know where we were at, and we were looking at the scoreboard. So when we got to 17, 17's par 3, about 225 yards, we knew that we needed to go 1 under the last 2. And I'm not sure if you guys have seen the video on Golf Channel and all that, but he had a putt from about 8 feet below the hole that was breaking more than players were initially reading. We played it out just far enough, and it hung on the lip for about 4.5 seconds and then fell in the bottom of the cup. So.
Wow. Well, what a thrill for sure. And, you know, you get the word you're going to the PGA Championship. I always like to know some of the background stuff, you know. So you get the invite. What are some of the details as far as how do they hook you up? Are you on your own for lodging? You know, how does it all work? And kind of walk us through when you show up to the course for the very first time in practice and kind of the routine.
Yeah, so basically we were on our own logistics-wise. The PGA was in contact with us throughout those 2 weeks leading up to the event. So we knew where we could stay and how we were going to get around and getting the courtesy car from the PGA and stuff. But basically the expenses were up to ourselves. And Tim's club at Birmingham Country Club was really generous. They donated a bunch of money in GoFundMe and pretty much took care of us for not only the PPC but this week at the PGA. So just grateful to them for that. But we got there I got there Saturday night, had to COVID test and register, and then we went to the golf course and played 9 on Sunday, and there really wasn't that many guys there because there was a lot of guys still playing at the tour event in Dallas the week before. So it was nice to just get there the first day, see a few of the guys, learn kind of what to do logistics-wise around the course with the locker room and dining and all that stuff. And it was just a cool first day, but it really hit us that we were at the PGA Championship on Monday when all those guys had flown in from the previous tournament, and we walked out of the locker room door and were staring dead in the face with Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, you name them, they were there. And Tim walked out of the locker room, and we went to the putting green, and he's like, dude, I don't know if I can putt right now. And I said, what are you going to do, WD on Monday? So we finally went out there, and we started rolling putts, and that's where it all kicked off.
He's obviously a pro, and, you've been around the golf game for a long time, too. But I can't imagine, that first time. You got to be a little starstruck. So I can't imagine what it'd be like seeing some of those big names. But I gotta ask, like, kind of along those lines, like being around the best golfers in the world, And we've talked before on the pod about different eras of basketball, football, whatever sport it is, and just like the difference in skill level and stuff like that. You're a very good golfer. Tim is a great golfer, all of that. But what have you noticed, like, especially now that you've seen it right in front of your face, I guess the big difference, if you had to pinpoint 1, 2, 3 things between, guys that are really good at golf and then the guys that end up like Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, and, stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say the number one thing is all about their process. I mean, they walk like a professional. They talk and act like a professional pretty much from when they get out of their car at the valet until when they get back in it. I mean, just a structured practice routine, I would say, like, mental management around the course, and these guys just hit it so darn straight and so darn consistent. I mean, I was sitting out there watching Rory hit 3 woods on Sunday, and it was dead downwind, so he's just throwing them up in the air, and I bet he carried his 3 woods 5 times in a row, 300 yards, and they all landed within 5 yards of each other. So the guy's consistency out there is just unbelievable.
Was that, like, maybe the most, like, starstruck you were throughout the whole weekend, or was it maybe you walked right by Phil out of the bathroom, or was there any sort of moment like that you kind of were maybe lost for words?
Yeah, so I'm actually glad this happened right at the beginning of the week. So I got there Saturday night, woke up, and got to the COVID testing center at 7 a.m. sharp, and when I pulled in the parking lot, Martin Keimer was getting out of his car, and he walked to the registration, so I walked right behind him, and the official working the registration said, Martin, you're the first person to register. Then he kind of looked at me and was like, who the heck are you? But you're number 2. And then I turned around, and Dustin Johnson's right there, and he was number 3. So I got my COVID test sitting right next to Dustin Johnson, and then I walked back to my car, and Bones, Phil's old caddy, walked up, and he actually caddied for Max Homa this past week. He walked up and started talking to DJ, and I was just kind of ushered into this conversation with Bones and DJ, standing in there in the parking lot at 7:05 before I had even gone to the course. So I'm kind of glad that happened, just because I was like, wow, I'm talking to the number 1 player in the world right now. So that kind of calmed my nerves a little bit going into the property for sure.
So once you get there, what is your caddy's job? Like, what did you do during your guys' practice rounds? Are you sort of like pacing out the course, like measuring out the greens? Like, I'm not even sure. What exactly is your job in those first few practice rounds?
Yeah, so Tim and I have this routine that we've been doing since we've been together. We kind of try to play the course straight up, especially the first time. We don't keep exact score, but once we get around the greens, we'll go to trouble spots. We'll throw balls down and have them chip from different areas, and then we won't putt to the pin that is used that day. I mean, if we want to keep score, we obviously will, but we'll throw 4 or 5 balls down in the middle of the green, and we'll putt to every corner of the green, and then from there we'll putt back to the middle. And they give us the official yardage book and stuff at registration. So to like go through that and start making notes with the other content that's already in there, that's kind of our process.
Trent, you've been to a lot of good courses. You golfed a lot of nice courses. How does this one stack up? I mean, it looked great on television. Yeah,
so this course is unreal. It is so tough. I think it was the longest yardage they've played in a major championship ever. When we got there, they said 7,873 yards was the distance. And I was talking with Sam Horsfield, who we were paired with the first 2 days, great young player from England. And he was asking me, he's like, what's your handicap, and what do you think you would shoot out here? And I was thinking about guys from my club that I play with, and I was telling him, I'm like, I think there's only a couple of guys at our club that could break 90 out here. That's how hard it is. I mean, just the length of the course, some of the carries on the par fours just to get over the hazard were like 250, 255. So I heard earlier in the week, too, Joel Damon said that a 5 handicap wouldn't break 100, and I honestly think that's true. The wind is everything out there. If you guys noticed, the first 3 days of the tournament, the wind was out of the east, and then the last day it completely flipped and went out of the west. So it was like a completely different golf course. With that east wind, it's so tough because you get on this stretch where you go all the way out on the back nine and then turn around on 14, the par 3, and you were just hitting dead into the wind off the ocean the whole way back in. So I think I saw a stat earlier in the week that said 14 through 18 was playing like the hardest stretch of holes ever in a major championship. And, I mean, the course will just bite you if you get in the wrong spots. There's a bunch of false fronts. The greens are built up. So, I mean, if you don't place your ball in the right position out there, and even sometimes if you do hit a good shot, it's not going to end up in a spot where you want. And so it's just a constant grind for all 18.
Yeah, I'm down here in North Carolina, just a few hours from Kiawah Island, and some of my coworkers have played the ocean course, and they've said basically everything you just said. Well, one of the most difficult courses ever for the length and for the sand, and then also just the wind whipping off the ocean. But they've said, like, it's one of those courses where you almost, unless you're playing competitively, of course, but you almost don't care what your score is because you're just, like, soaking in the scenery. Like, you just want to take pictures of what you're seeing. So it definitely would be cool to see. But I wanted to ask you about kind of like the nerves. And, you know, like I said, I mean, you guys you're pros. I mean, you know how to golf. You know what you're doing on the golf course. But, you know, being the first big event, especially the PGA Championship, and, you know, seeing the stars and stuff like that, you talked about being a little starstruck and, you know, talking about going out to the putting green and being like, holy crap, I can't even putt right now. But, like, once you start playing, you kind of settle in, right? Like, once you guys you hit that first drive and you get to, like, number 2 or 3, you guys kind of just settle in and start golfing, right? Is that kind of what it felt like?
Yeah, we did. I actually think that Tim was less nervous than me on the first tee. I did see his hands shaking a little bit on the club, but, I mean, when I walked to the tee and the official got on the microphone and said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 103rd PGA Championship, I just got the biggest chill going down my spine. And Tim bogeyed the first 2 holes, so we were already off to kind of a rough start behind the 8 ball. But he parred the 3rd hole and then dropped about a 25-footer for birdie on our 4th hole, which was number 13 because we started on the back the first round. But Tim had a bunch of buddies that flew in from all across the country. And when he made that putt on 13, the green kind of sits down below where the fans stand. And when that putt went in, his buddies just went absolutely nuts. And there was people coming up to us later in the week saying, like, we heard the roars from Tim Pearce's group, and we thought it was like Phil, or we thought it was DJ's roars or something like that. That's how loud they were. So after that big roar, we really settled in. And, I mean, the pros and the caddies out there, too, were just so nice to us. I mean, there was not one time that we were out there on the course where we felt like we didn't belong out there, or guys were giving us the cold shoulder. It was just class from each and every guy we came in contact with all week.
That's awesome. So how would you describe how you guys played? Like, was there a certain number you guys wanted to shoot heading into the week that was the goal to make the cut? Like, how would you kind of rate your guys' play this weekend?
Yeah, the goal was to make the cut, and Tim and I always have this goal, too, together that we don't want to make any double bogeys. So, I mean, doubles, triples, especially in a major championship, I mean, it's hard not to make them. But on the first hole, Tim went bunker to bunker and then had about a 12, 15-footer for bogey. So we're staring double right in the face off the first hole. But he luckily made that putt for bogey, so we kind of kept that for a while. I mean, it's just so tough to plot your way around there. I think that the goal of having no doubles was maybe a little bit crazy based on how hard the course ended up playing. But that's just what we need to do to manage ourselves out there. I mean, if you don't make big numbers, you're going to have a chance to make the cut.
Trent, I got one more question for you from my end. It's kind of a generic question, but I always like to hear the observation. You had this big thrill, and you got to have this bucket list item, you could check off. Out of that weekend, what stood out the most to you?
I would say just the memories that we made off the golf course. I was staying with Tim and his parents, and Tim's swing coach, Gary, from Birmingham Country Club came down. And just to, go home after the round, sit down and truly appreciate what we were actually doing, and even, turn on the coverage and watch other guys play on the same holes that we were just walking a few hours earlier. I mean, that was awesome because Tim and I just looked over at each other probably 15 or 20 times and just started laughing, shaking our heads, watching the coverage. And, I mean, just to be there with one of my best friends and to see him capture that dream, and that's what meant the most to me.
Just a couple more questions for you, Trent, before we let you go. Thanks again for doing this. You got to ask you about the champion. I mean, Phil Mickelson. What can you tell us about just what you saw from him this weekend? I mean, it's crazy that he did it at 50, let alone the fact that he did it, just so kind of running away with it in the fashion. What was the crowd like, and what was it like watching him this weekend?
Yeah, so Sunday we went to the golf course about a half hour before Phil teed off, and we were like, we're following Phil all day. We got to be here if he gets this done. And so one of the best parts was on number 5 when he chipped in out of the bunker, because we were standing right there behind the green, and the place just went berserk. And after that, there was just a little bit of a buzz around the course, all around Phil. So we were a part of that crowd, I will admit, in the fairway. We went down the left side of 18. Phil hit his drive over there within 10 yards of us.
Oh, wow.
And I looked at my buddy Kevin, who was walking with me, and Brooks was second to play from the fairway there. And I looked at him and I said, dude, this place is going to erupt when Brooks makes contact. I said, if we're going to go, we need to run to the middle of the fairway right away. So we did, and it was just a madhouse in there. Like, people shoving each other around and people all excited, high-fiving, people spilling beers all over each other. And I'm just glad that Phil got through there. It sounds like Brooks might have got dinged a little bit, but I'm happy for Phil to see him do it at 50 and to encourage these older guys, too, to keep going. I mean, Louis Oosthuizen isn't the youngest guy either, and he was up there on the leaderboard. So I just think it's good for the game of golf. We got golf's in a great spot, a lot of good young guys out there, but also these old guys that are hitting bombs. Literally, Phil's hitting bombs still, keeping up with these guys. And just to see him give that confidence to the older guys out there in Tour 2 was awesome.
That's awesome. I mean, I loved watching it on TV. I can't imagine what it was like being in that crowd. It looked just incredible. Last question for you. I sent you a video before we recorded of my golf swing. You've given a lot of golf lessons in your day. What would you correct about my swing, and maybe what did you like? Because it is a pretty good-looking swing, if I do say so myself.
Well, I will lead with this. So your swing, I think that you could swing about 5 times in the amount of time that it takes Sungjae Im or Hideki Matsuyama to hit the ball. I mean, the tempo is quick. The speed's there. The power's there. I can see it. I mean, you're a little upright. I see you got an upright. What's your miss, Jared? Like, do you miss, like, big fade?
Usually slice. Yeah, slice. Okay, yeah. Big time slice.
So if I were to spend some time with you, I would probably get you a little bit further away from the ball, like feet-wise, and then get a little bit more hip hinge there because you stand a little bit straight up, which would then bump your shoulders back a little bit to get you in better posture. And, I mean, the speed is already there. I can see you swinging hard. I like swinging hard. So that's the first thing I would correct. But just like I tell everybody, I mean, the golf swing is one thing, being able to manage your way around the course, and especially with your short game putting. You can have one of the ugliest golf swings in the world as long as you can make contact. And if you're a good chipper and a putter, you're going to beat a lot of people. So, hey, we got to get working on that, though.
Yeah, we'll charge.
We do, I know.
Charge him next time.
Are you going to come down and are we going to play for B-dubs or what?
Well, I mean, I will only accept that if I get about 15 strokes, maybe more.
What's your cap right now?
Yeah, we're definitely going to be playing. What? Say that again?
What's your handicap?
So I had my buddy, Krause.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not the brightest ball, but he calculated my handicap. It's at a 9. That's where I'm sitting right now.
All right, I'll give you 11.
All right, sounds good.
I got to ask you a quick follow-up to you breaking down Jared's swing before we get you out of here. So, yeah, I grew up, I played baseball my whole life. I've always been a casual golfer, and I'll admit that. I'm the weekend hacker that just likes to go out and have fun. I do like golf a lot, but I've always used, since I played baseball my whole life, I've always used that I have a baseball swing as my excuse, as why I'm slicing the hell out of the ball, can't hit the ball straight. When I come back, it looks like I'm bringing a baseball bat and I'm about to hit, a line drive up the middle to center field. Is that a good excuse, or should I stop using I've got a baseball swing as my excuse?
I think it's a good excuse. I mean, we see it so often, though. I mean, I would say 90% of, like, amateur golfers or weekend golfers, they slice the ball. I mean, it's hard to turn the ball over. And people usually start playing baseball before they play golf. Like, I know in middle school, for me, I played baseball because we didn't have a middle school golf team. So, I mean, I definitely think it's a valid excuse, but if you can get the ball turning over right to left and you can do that consistently, that makes golf a lot more fun because you're going to hit it farther and you're going to have more control, in my opinion.
The worst thing ever as I feel myself just hitting the piss out of the ball, and then it slices 200 yards to the next hole. I'm just like, that would have been a 320-yard drive, but it just sliced 2 holes over. So, but I keep going
you
back
might have
for
to
that
go
one.
up to the mitten and ride on over with Jared. Then we'll just do a dual lesson.
All right.
Well, you're taking care of 2 of us. I'm hopeless, Trent. I won't waste your time, but I will say this. This was a lot of fun, reliving your excitement from last weekend. I didn't realize you were able to stick around and be there Sunday. That kind of gave me a chill thinking about it, because watching that crowd on television and seeing Mickelson win it, that's a special deal, and you got to share it with your friends. So that was awesome. We really appreciate the time. We look forward to checking in with you down the road and talking a little bit more golf. Why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you best?
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter at TC Sports Insider, or I just started a new Instagram page for golf. It's at TCourt Golf.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate the time. We'll definitely be checking that out, and a little later in the summer, maybe we'll check in with you, maybe after the U.S. Open, and get some of your thoughts. How's that sound?
Awesome. I love it. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, Trent. We'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot, buddy. That was great stuff there with Trent. We appreciated him taking the time out to join us, and we're going to be back and talk with Eric Woodyard of ESPN. He's the new Lions insider right after these messages. JJ's Excavating and Tree Service can help you with many homeowner items, including skid steer work, footings, gravel work, and property maintenance. JJ's Excavating and Tree Service, they're also experts in tree removals, including stump grinding. Fully insured and no job too big or too small. Call Kyle Jones of JJ's Excavating and Tree Service at 989-277-9059 to set up a free estimate and tell him 3 Point Podcast sent you. The Owasso Speedway has been building families and communities through the promotion of short track racing since 1939. Saturdays are race days at the Big O, with gates opening at 4, qualifying beginning at 5, and the waving of the green flag and racing at 7. The Owasso Speedway and its super fast high bank 3/8 of a mile oval layout has thrills and action galore. Easy to get to on M21 between Owasso and Ovid. Stay up to date on upcoming features by following Owasso Speedway on Facebook at Owasso Speedway MI. It's family fun, and you'll always be welcomed by the smiling faces at Owasso Speedway. Rivals Tap House and Grill, the official sports bar of 3 Point Podcast. Keep supporting them by calling in your takeout orders. That's Rivals Tap House and Grill in Corunna at the corner of M21 and State Road. Advanced Elevator Company have expert field technicians for troubleshooting, repair, and installation of elevators. An area business leader and a huge supporter of the Corunna Public Schools. Advanced Elevator. The CorunnaConnection.com staff knows it's great to be gold. Keep up to date on Cavalier Nation at CorunnaConnection.com. All Corunna, all the time. The Hankard Sportswear team pride themselves by giving a good product at a great value. The area's go-to clothing and more printing business with many loyal customers. They do it by providing a 100% guarantee to satisfy your expectations. Hankard Sportswear always have Owasso, Corunna, and St. Paul school spirit items in stock. Also, special items for family, sporting, business, and charity events. Call them at 989-725-2979. Stop on into the store on Exchange Street in downtown Owasso, and follow them on Facebook at hankard.sportswear. Nelson House Funeral Home's #1 goal is to serve the families in our community. The Nelson House staff are proud to serve our local community with reliability, integrity, and compassion. Their top priority is caring for our friends and neighbors and being right there when you need them the most. Unique service to represent unique lives. In mid-Michigan, ensuring your loved ones receive the honor and celebration they deserve. The business started all the way back in 1880 and continues the tradition today with chapels in Owasso, Chesaning, and New Lothrop. For more details, find them at nelson-house.com or call 989-723-5234. Success Group Mortgage and Servicing is a mortgage and land contract services company that's focused on your success. Led by Jim Woodworth, Success Group Mortgage provides one-on-one service with a personal touch. Located in downtown Owasso, call for an appointment at 989-720-4380 or find more info on the web at successgroupmortgage.com. Sheridan Auction Service always has a wide variety of items and real estate on the docket. Stay up to date by checking their website at SheridanAuctionService.com. Looking out for you, Sheridan Auction Service.